Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm bringing you a brand new story about Lythieuca, and trust me, this episode has a plot twist that will freeze anyone in their tracks. As many of you already know, Du is the biological father of little Tony, the child Hawa has been raising alone for years. Back then, Du once tried to come back, hoping to pursue Hawa again and make up for the past. But her heart was already fully devoted to Hung. And Hawa and Hung? They love each other in that deep, unshakable way, the kind of bond no one else can break into. Without competing or clinging to something hopeless, Du chose to step back and give them his blessing. Especially when Hung was drowning in debt, Du was the one who stepped in to help, without a single word of complaint. That's the kind of loyalty that makes people respect him deeply. Even without love between them, Du still carries the responsibility of a father. He visits Tony from time to time, gives Hawa some money to help raise the boy, buys little gifts. It's just, lately he's been working far away, so he hasn't returned to the village as often. And then, in today's video, Du suddenly appears again, but this time, not just to check on Tony. He does something he has never done before, something that leaves Hawa stunned, Hung speechless, and everyone around them unable to believe their eyes. Want to know what Du did? Want to know how Hawa and Hung reacted? Watch until the end of today's video to catch every twist and turn. That afternoon, the last sunlight of the day spread a thin golden layer across the dirt yard in front of the house. Hawa sat on an old wooden chair, her hands moving quickly as she washed the vegetables she had just picked from the garden. Cold water settled between her fingers, running down her wrist and making her shiver slightly. Children's laughter echoed from the alley, and the peace was so complete she could hear nothing but water splashing and the breeze slipping under the eaves. Suddenly, thud! A loud sound came from the gate. Hawa jolted, looking up, her heart tightening with a strange sense that something wasn't quite right. A long-distance passenger bus slowly rolled to a stop. Dust drifted across the gate, and a few seconds later, the door swung open. The person who stepped down was Du. He paused for a moment, scanning the yard as if making sure he hadn't come to the wrong house. His tall, familiar figure looked much tougher now, broader shoulders, veins on his arms, skin darkened by months of working under harsh sun. But what made Hawa freeze wasn't his appearance. It was his eyes. Those gentle, slightly sad eyes that had once filled her with guilt. She blurted out in surprise. "On Du. When did you get back?" Du pulled a large backpack off his shoulder and set it gently on the ground. He gave her a soft smile, not eager, not pushy, but enough to make her chest tighten a little. "This morning. I came to see Tony, and to see you." A simple sentence. No intention of intruding on her life. Yet it made something inside Hawa waver. The basket in her hands suddenly felt numb, water dripping down onto the yard in a small, steady stream. The feeling in her chest was hard to describe, not fear, not anything close to romantic confusion. Just awkwardness. A little familiar unease. Because she knew that even though everything between them had ended long ago, even though her heart now belonged entirely to Hung, Du was once someone who had wanted to come back, who had thought about making things right for her and Tony. But he never clung to the past. Never tried to force anything. When he learned Hawa chose Hung, Du stepped back, offered his blessing, and accepted it. The way he lived, straightforward, loyal, earned him the respect of everyone around. And for Tony, the only child who carried his blood, Du had never walked away. Small treats, a bit of money to help with expenses, surprise visits, that was how he fulfilled his duty as a father. But his sudden appearance today, with a huge backpack as if he planned to stay for a while. Stirred a mix of curiosity and unease in Hawa's heart. Why is he here this time? The peaceful afternoon air thickened instantly, as if holding its breath. The family hadn't even managed to pull out chairs or pour a cup of hot tea for their guest when Dew suddenly bent down and opened his old, overstuffed backpack. The sound of the zipper echoed faintly through the quiet house, making both Hawa and Hung instinctively look over. Dew rummaged inside for a moment, his movements slow but deliberate, as if whatever he was about to take out was something he had thought long and hard about before bringing here. Then he pulled out a thick stack of envelopes. They were bundled tightly with an old rubber band, but one glance was enough to know there was a lot of money inside, enough to make the whole room fall silent for a few long seconds. Hawa froze. Her hand, still holding the cloth she used to dry vegetables, trembled slightly. Hung, standing beside her, tried to keep a calm expression, but the flicker of shock and caution in his eyes was unmistakable. Dew placed the bundle on the wooden table. Not forcefully, gently, almost respectfully, as if handing over something precious. Then he spoke, voice dropping low. Hawa, I won the lottery. For real. The amount, it's huge. And I want to give you a portion of it. You've struggled for years, raising Tony alone. I owe you that much. A simple sentence, but it carried the weight of years' worth of guilt and memories. No bragging. No showing off. Just a quiet, late apology, soft, but heavy. Hawa stared at the envelope bundle. So thick it made anyone who looked at it hold their breath. It wasn't just money, it was the heart of a father trying to redeem his mistakes. Her heartbeat thudded hard. Not from greed. Not from excitement. But from the feeling that a very fragile boundary was being tested. Outside in the yard, Tony's laughter echoed freely. He played with stones, dirt, running around while calling for his mother, completely unaware that just a few steps away, his biological father was making a decision that could change all three adults' lives. Hawa took a deep breath, steadying her voice. I can't accept this. Hung and I can manage. Tony is your son, yes, but you also have your own life, your own future. Keep the money and invest in yourself. Dew frowned slightly, though his eyes were full of tenderness. I have more than enough. Watching you struggle all these years, it hurts. I'm not trying to interfere with your life. I just want to lessen your burden. Hawa pushed the envelope back, firm and unwavering. No. If I take this kind of money from you, people will talk. How are Hung and I supposed to look? How are you supposed to look? And when Tony grows up, what will he think? One misunderstanding can ruin everything. Her words were gentle but sharp, like a clean cut. Not harsh. Not insulting. Just the clarity of a woman who had lived through pain, made mistakes, and finally learned what must be protected at all costs. Dew went quiet. He looked at the money, then at Hawa. Disappointment flickered in his eyes, the kind that comes from wanting to do something good but being unable to. But above the sadness, was respect. He knew she wasn't rejecting him out of coldness. She was protecting the line that kept everything in the right place, their pride, their boundaries, their families. Money can be given. But intentions, boundaries, family. Cross one line, and the storm that follows won't be easy to fix. The air in the house grew heavy. The only sounds left were the wind brushing against the eaves, and Tony's carefree laughter outside, the innocent voice of a child who didn't understand life yet, but was the very reason all three adults were fighting so hard to keep everything in balance. The next morning, the sun had barely risen, Hung was loading several heavy sacks onto his three-wheeled cart, preparing to deliver goods to his customers. Sweat dotted his forehead, dust clung to his shirt, but his face held the quiet focus of a man determined to build a decent life for his family. He had just tightened the last rope when someone called out, "Hung." He turned. Du was standing there, leaning against his motorbike, hands in his pockets, his expression a mix of unease and determination. Before Hung could say anything, Du opened the bike's storage compartment. From inside, he pulled out another envelope. And this one was even thicker than the one he'd offered Hawa the day before. The moment Hung saw it, he knew. Du still hadn't given up on trying to help the mother and child. Du stepped forward, holding out the envelope, his voice calm but firm. "Hung, I know you love Hawa. You love Tony. And I'm glad for that. So, take this money and use it for them. I don't have much to make up for the past, but I want to contribute something, as a father should." Hung felt a pinch in his chest. Not discomfort, but understanding. Because he knew exactly what this was, a father's sincerity. Something men don't need long explanations to recognize. He didn't take the envelope. Instead, he stood upright, brushed the dust from his hands, and looked directly at Du, not as a rival, but as a fellow man. "I know you care about Tony. Your heart. I appreciate it. But my family can take care of ourselves. Keep the money. When Tony grows up, if you want to help him, you can do it then, and he'll understand the meaning of it better." Du blinked, stunned for a few seconds. The answer was too proper, too grounded, the kind of response only a mature, secure man could give. Hung wasn't rejecting him out of pride. Nor jealousy. He was protecting boundaries, his own, Hawa's, and even Du's. A gentle breeze swept across the dirt road, lifting dust before letting it fall again. Du tightened his grip on the envelope. His eyes darkened slightly. He looked as if he wanted to say something more, but then stopped. After a long pause, he nodded. A slow, steady nod, not of defeat, but of acknowledgement. His eyes softened, tinged with sadness and respect. "Hung. You really are a good man." Hung gave a modest smile, no bragging, no ego. "On Du, we just want a peaceful life. And Tony, he only needs to know that all three of us care for him." Du inhaled slowly, tucked the envelope back into his jacket, then climbed onto his motorbike. He didn't say another word. But in his eyes, just before he rode off, there was a sense of peace, something he hadn't felt in years. That evening, just as the sun disappeared and the streetlights flickered on, long golden streaks stretched across the small town road. Du suddenly called, sounding unusually cheerful. "Get ready, I'm taking everyone out for dinner." Hawa looked at Hung. Hung looked at Hawa. Both were surprised, but neither wanted to be rude, so they agreed. But when they arrived, they froze. This wasn't the usual cheap diner. Not the roadside hot pot place. Not the budget barbecue spot they sometimes visited. Du had chosen the most upscale restaurant in the entire town, a place even Hung had never dared step into for fear of the price. White tablecloths. Leather chairs. Glasses shimmering under warm lights. Tony walked in with wide eyes, mouth open. "Wow, like in a movie, Mom." Hawa couldn't help laughing at his innocence. And Du, his eyes softened. The warmth of a man standing on the outside, looking at the kind of family he once wished he could have been part of. During the meal, Du didn't say much. He simply watched Hawa gently care for Tony, watched Hung pick food for them, a simple scene, but so complete it made his heart sink a little. When they finished and were about to leave, Du placed a hand on the table. "Wait. Come with me for a little bit." Hawa frowned. "Where to?" "You'll see." The couple exchanged glances, then followed. Du drove a long stretch, past the residential area, across a small bridge, and finally turned into a brightly lit avenue. In front of them stood a massive car showroom, all glass and shining lights. Hawa and Hung stared in shock. Du was already off the bike, gesturing. "Come in." Inside, rows of brand new cars gleamed under polished lighting, the scent of leather and new interiors filling the air. Without beating around the bush, Du walked straight to a silver family-size car, sleek, practical, perfect for a young household. He turned back and pointed. "I bought this for you too. For Hawa to go to the market without struggling. For Tony to go to school safely. For Hung to work without exhaustion. This car, it fits your little family." Silence fell like a stone. Hawa's eyes widened. Hung stood frozen, stiff as a statue. Both blurted out at once. "We can't accept that." Hung stepped forward, voice calm but firm. "Du, please keep your money and secure your own life. We're used to the motorbike, we can manage. If I take this car, I'll be judged forever." Hawa quickly added, gentle but sharp. "You should use that money to build your future. When Tony grows up, he'll be proud to have a father who worked for his life, not one who tried to fix everything with money." Her words stopped Du completely. He looked at the brand new car, then at the two standing in front of him. Slowly, his eyes softened, with a bit of sting, a bit of regret, but mostly warmth. And then he smiled. A real smile, but one carrying a lump in the throat. "You too, you really live right. Not greedy, not taking advantage, knowing where the boundaries are. I can rest easy now." It wasn't a happy smile. Nor a sad one. It was the smile of a man who finally understood. The woman he once wanted to hold on to is now loved by the right man. And he can be proud of that. That night, the wind from the open fields carried a familiar year-end chill across the countryside. A thin crescent moon hung low, its faint light stretching over the dirt road. Du stood beside his motorbike for a long time before getting on. He looked back at the small house behind him, warm yellow light glowing through the doorway, Tony's cheerful laughter echoing out, and the silhouettes of Hung and Hawa standing close together. A moment that seemed ordinary, yet tightened something deep inside his chest. Du took a long breath. Then he put on his helmet, started the engine, and rode off into the dark road ahead. No horn. No rush. Just the low hum of the engine fading farther and farther away, until it disappeared completely, just like the man himself, always choosing to leave quietly, without asking for anything in return. In the front yard, Hawa stood watching the direction he left. The wind brushed through her hair, gentle like a late farewell to a story long closed. She didn't cry. She wasn't sad. She simply felt light, a kind of lightness mixed with gratitude. Grateful that Du had been kind. Grateful that he understood boundaries. Grateful that life had placed everyone exactly where they were meant to be. Hung stepped closer. He didn't say much, the quiet, steady way of country men. He just took her hand, calloused but warm. Our family will just live like this. Owing no one. Needing nothing fancy. Hawa turned toward him, the man who had walked with her through storms, humiliation, hardship, and countless long days. She nodded softly. She didn't need wealth. She only needed a simple, honest life, a man who cherished her, and a child growing up in warmth. Inside the house, Tony was hugging the superhero toy Du had just given him. He ran around the room, feet dusty, face smudged, laughing loudly. "Mom! I got a new superhero." And that innocent laughter washed away every trace of heaviness left in the hearts of the adults. Sometimes, family only needs things as simple as that. Today's story comes to a close. But the emotions will surely linger in the hearts of everyone watching. How about you? What do you think about the way Hung and Hawa handled everything? A husband, honorable, respectful, knowing where the boundaries are. A wife, thoughtful, self-respecting, never taking advantage of anyone. Both chose what was right, instead of what was easy. And if it were you, would you accept a gift that big from Du? Whether it's money, or a brand new car, would you accept it out of gratitude? Or would you also choose to protect the boundaries, just like they did? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Every perspective is valuable. Thank you so much for staying with me until the end of the video. Your support is the motivation that keeps me telling these warm, everyday stories. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any upcoming episodes. See you tomorrow in the next chapter, where even more surprises await. See you, everyone.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình tiếp tục đưa đến với mọi người video tiếp theo về câu chuyện của Lý Hoài Ca và sát hùng nha mọi người. Bây giờ thì mình vẫn đang làm. Mình chưa có edit xong, mình đang hoàn thành các bước cuối cùng. Bây giờ thì cũng khá là muộn rồi. Lẽ ra là giờ này mình đã phải lên video rồi, nhưng mà mình làm không có kịp. Nên là mình sẽ lên video muộn tầm 7:30-8 giờ. Mình đang cố gắng này, có thể lên vào lúc 8 giờ nhưng mà không biết là có kịp không ấy mọi người. Mình vẫn đang cố gắng. Mình làm xong thì mình còn đặt tên video và cảm ơn mọi người đã xem. Tạm biệt mọi người.